What's up, builders? So today we're going to talk about voice agents and looking up customer information on call initialization. So as soon as somebody calls in, we're going to look up their information and bring it into the agent context window. So unlike a chat interface, if you've got a chatbot that's sitting on the front end of your website, unless you force the customer to fill out a form or provide some details before the chat starts, you don't really know a whole lot of information about the customer. But when somebody calls into an inbound voice agent, they've already provided some information, and that's their phone number. So we're going to take that phone number, look up some data, and then have the agent be able to dynamically handle the conversation based on that particular data. So the platforms we're going to use today in this demo is ElevenLabs and the ElevenLabs agents specifically, because there's a lot of stuff that ElevenLabs offers from a product suite. We're also going to use n8n kind of as the API layer and Webhook to fetch the information as soon as that inbound agent call is made. We're going to go look up some information and we're going to shove it back into the agent context window in ElevenLabs to let the agent know, hey, this is Connor that's calling. Here's some information about him. And also you need a place where your customer data is. And for this example, I'm using Baserow, which is basically like an open source Airtable alternative, but you can use Airtable, an actual database like a Postgres database, or even something as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. So let's jump into it. So we're going to start by having this phone call. Sorry, I closed my Slack out, keeps pinging me. Let's call this agent. Come on, phone, you can do it. There we go.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, how's it going? I was wondering if I could process a return on a product that I just ordered.
Hey, Connor, thanks for reaching out. I can definitely help you with that. I see you recently purchased the USB-C hub from October 19th for $35.99. Before we proceed with the return, can you tell me what's going on with the product? Is there an issue with it? Or did you just change your mind?
Yeah, no, I just realized I didn't needed it. I ordered it by accident. I'm sorry, that's my fault.
No worries at all, Connor. That happens to the best of us. The good news is you're well within our return window, so I can absolutely get that processed for you. Let me send you a return authorization with all the instructions on how to send it back. Perfect. I've sent you a text message with all the return instructions. You'll get your full refund of $35.99 within 5 to 7 days after we receive the item back. Just follow the steps in the text and you'll be all set. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, that's it. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome, Connor. Thanks for calling, and we appreciate your business. Have a great day.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, and so if I look at my text message here, which is going to look maybe a little bit silly on my webcam as I hold up my phone, but you can see, hey, hi Connor, here's some information on how to return this and some links to click. So agent has assisted in this particular return. It's looked up my information based on my inbound phone number, which is currently hidden, but we'll show you how this is set up. It correctly identified that I ordered the USB-C hub and the amount and the purchase date, and was it within the return window. So there's a lot of additional logic that you can build on top of this from this type of setup. So let's get into how we went about this. I'm going to start first inside of n8n. Now for my n8n instances, the majority of my production servers are self-hosted. Okay, I do not use n8n cloud, and that is primarily because I want something that scales as the workflows grow, right? I don't want to be in these bands of, hey, by the way, your number of executions is hitting a certain amount. You've used 80% of your processing. You're going to be charged more. Like I don't like living in that world if I don't have to. And because n8n is open source, I lean towards self-hosting for that primary reason. Also, don't have to worry about, concurrent executions and things being pushed into queues and stuff like that. I can have a dynamically scaling server set up that'll just grow and shrink, for lack of better phrasing, as the executions run. And also, there are some additional community nodes that are in the open source version, which are super helpful because people are always building on top of this and doing useful things and contributing to the open source version of n8n. So one of the companies that is a great solution, you can just click a few buttons, spin up a VPS and get rolling, is Hostinger. And Hostinger is actually the sponsor of this particular video. So they are running a Black Friday sale. This is a specific n8n landing page where you can come in here, choose a plan. KVM stands for kernel-based virtual machine. So the numbers are based on the CPU cores. You can see they're most popular. That's highlighted here. KVM2, it's a decent server, especially for $5.99 a month. So if we go in here and choose this plan, I'm going to show you how straightforward it is to get in here and get up and rolling. So you can pre-purchase 24, 12, 1 month. If you purchase 12 or 24 months, I've got a coupon code for you guys as well, which is an additional 10% off. So Umbral10, hit apply. There we go. Boom. Look at that. Save you some coin. So I'm actually going to, and you can see here the operating system. So there are a lot of popular open source applications that you can run inside of Hostinger. n8n is pre-selected here for us because we came from that n8n landing page. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in here and click continue and set this up off screen. And here we go. All right, so now we choose a server location. So I'm East Coast, so obviously Boston makes the most sense here. n8n, select. All right, we need a password here for our server. Let me come off screen again with my notepad. Paste this in here and get rolling. Additional features, malware scanner, I'm going to decline and just click finish setup to get this running. Don't need to save this. Okay, so this is going to start spinning up our particular server here. And in the meantime, let's run through ElevenLabs and what we need to get set up in ElevenLabs for this agent. Okay, this is the system prompt. Voice agent instructions, e-commerce customer support. I'm giving it a heads up of, hey, this is your identity and your role. And then here's the customer context. Now you can see in ElevenLabs that I've got some nomenclature here, which is double bracket, first underscore name, last underscore name. These are dynamic variables in ElevenLabs. And this is a specific type of variable, which you have to provide values for on initialization. So anything you put in this particular window, you need to set this when the agent initializes. So I've got things like customer ID, order number, product purchase, purchase date, order total, all of this stuff. And then I'm giving it a heads up. Hey, by the way, the customer requests to return their order. We've got a tool call. All right. So we'll go through what that tool call looks like as well, which is part of our n8n flow to return the order and do a bunch of stuff. And then just some random additional, it's not random, some additional instructions to help shape the agent's behavior, all in this particular window. And you can see anytime the dynamic variable pops up, it's this particular nomenclature, because when the prompt actually hits, these dynamic variables will have values. And then that's why I remember when the agent said, hey, Connor, how's it going? So is there anything else I can help you with today, Connor? Is how it's going to look to the agent. Now, what do you need in order to send this initialization called Webhook out from this agent? All right, you actually need to go into the settings tab of your ElevenLabs, and you need this conversation initiation client data webhook. Woo, this is a mouthful. All right, and for this webhook URL, that is where I'm going to come into n8n and come and grab this URL and paste it into ElevenLabs. Okay. Then in addition to that, if we come back to our agent, you need to go to the security tab you need to scroll down and you need to toggle this fetch initiation client data from Webhook on. And then you can kind of see right here, here's the webhook, override the webhook configured in your workplace settings for this agent. So you can also override it for individual agents as well if you don't want to use the ones that are sitting in your settings. Okay. Let's check on our, there we go. Look at that. Hostinger coming through. All right, it's done. So this VPS server has been spun up. And now if I click manage app, hey, we got a fresh login for n8n. So going to once again come off screen and set this up real quick. There we go. Let's come on back. And then n8n is going to ask you some general questions. Just going to say get started. This is the send me a free license key. Make sure you get this. Click this button and include it. And that's mainly because folders. I could not live inside of n8n without folders. So make sure you do this and put this license key inside your instance. Take a sip of water. Super useful, but I'm going to skip it for now just to kind of show you. All right. We're going to start from scratch here. Now, the nice thing is, if we click these dots here, I can import a workflow that I've saved from another instance. And if I come back to my other one here that I've already built, I can download this workflow here. Click download, boom, it's going to come up. And then I'm going to import this also off from file, off screen, just so I don't show you the rest of my folder structure. I feel like I'm doing that probably too much in this video, but boom, there we go. All right, so this is my ElevenLabs customer lookup in the fresh instance. Now you'll see all of these nodes here have these kind of hazard warning, and that's because I also have to bring in something else. Not only do I need to bring in the workflow themselves, I also need to bring in the credentials as well. But we're up and rolling here, and now we have this fresh n8n instance that if we go and look at our dashboard, we've got a bunch of useful things for this VPS and managing it that Hostinger is doing for us. So you can see different information. Here's the host name for the URL. Here's your plan details, some useful information about how to update the n8n instance because there are new versions that are popping in at all times. Doing things like daily backups, weekly backups, which I would strongly suggest, just especially as you get a bunch of production workflows running. So there's a lot of useful things inside of this management dashboard, and then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to deal with it. You don't have to worry about the management aspect of this particular server because it's just going to scale. So strong solution. Let's jump back in here. Okay. This, we've toggled in ElevenLabs, the initiation call webhook. So boom, I hit this webhook. This thing's going to start. Let's turn this execution on to show you. That was the return order one. All right. So what happens here? So we get a webhook information. Boom, webhook comes through. Then the next thing I'm going to do, I like to set variables in here. I probably do it a little bit too much, but I like to extract the useful things that I want. So I just am pulling the body of the webhook here so I can get, you'll notice it sends caller ID, agent ID, the called phone number, and the call SID, which is a Twilio specific ID that is useful in several applications depending on what you're doing. So those four things will always be sent from ElevenLabs in this webhook. Then we're going to go to Baserow, and this is where I look up in the table from phone number, the phone number that is called. So json.body.caller_ID. So I'm extracting the phone number that ElevenLabs provided me, and I'm going to go and basically do most a SQL query table lookup inside of Baserow to get the rest of the row information on the customer. And you can see here, order number, first name, last name, phone number, product purchase, purchase date, order total. Because remember, we have these dynamic variables that we need to set values for. Now, after I get all of this information, I need to prepare it for ElevenLabs. If we look at the ElevenLabs docs, there's a very specific response that ElevenLabs is looking for here, and that is type, conversation initiation client data, dynamic variables objects, and then all of your dynamic variables. So in my n8n instance, I need to reformat the data that I got from Baserow, and I need to prep it for ElevenLabs. So this is what I'm doing here. So I have a JavaScript code node that is setting up the response in the structure that I need it. And you can see the output has type, conversation initiation, client data, and then all of my dynamic variables that I am bringing in. And then it's just respond to Webhook, sending it right to you. So everything that because I've prepped it. Now I could also, instead of respond with first coming item, I could respond with JSON, and then I just set the object up in here inside of this node. I kind of like processing things in code nodes personally. That's just my own preference because there's a lot of other useful things that can go on, and I don't want to have a lot of things going on inside of this Webhook node. But that's just my personal preference. Okay, so what is the other thing to set up? This tool call. Now I'll go through this in a second, but let's go back to ElevenLabs. Inside of the agents, there's a tool tab here. And you'll see that I have one tool attached to this agent, which is named return order. So if I click on it, this is the URL webhook. It's a post, and I grab this from my n8n instance here. I copy it over into ElevenLabs. Oops, wrong one. All right, scroll down. You can add authorization headers in here as well. Keep it more secure. I didn't do this for this demo. Okay, body parameters. Here's the important part. Now you get to set what the agent will pass through the webhook body here. And now I have a custom object called customer data. And I'm going to pass in all my dynamic variables: order number, phone number, first name, product purchased, order total, email, purchase date. Okay. And you'll see for each of these, the value type is dynamic variable. Now, if you wanted the agent to ask the customer a specific piece of information, like remember when it asked me the reason for my return, I should probably add another property here and call it reason. And instead of dynamic variable, it's LLM prompted, which means that the agent's going to ask the customer for this information, and you're giving it a heads up. By the way, grab the reason from the customer and then shove it into the body of this webhook as well. I'll delete that. So this is how you set the tool call. For anytime that you're dealing with dynamic variables in ElevenLabs as well, they force you to add some placeholders here, and that's for the testing environment. So if you were to go into and preview the agent and test it from the ElevenLabs platform, it's going to use those particular values. So if you're wondering what those placeholders are for, it's just so you can test it in this particular platform. Okay, back to n8n. Webhook, return order. I'm setting all of the details again in the body. Code node again. Well, why am I doing a code node? And that's because I want to prep the text message that I'm going to send with the format. Here it is. Hi, first name. Hi, Connor. Starting your return order for order number, product, visit returns.store, order number, product. You can see I'm pulling in these variables, which are going to populate in the actual text message that gets sent through the Twilio node. And the Twilio node is very straightforward for messaging, which is what is the phone number it's coming from, what is the phone number it's going to, which the going to I set from this variable, and then I just have a phone number that I've purchased here in Twilio. Respond to Webhook, just giving the agent a heads up that this workflow executed successfully, right? I don't send any information back to the agent. It's basically just a heads up, hey, that text went through. You should have gotten a text, which is what you heard on the call. So, in summary, we've got a ElevenLabs agent where you can guide the behavior here in the instructions. You can use dynamic variables to pull information about your potential customers and what they might want to discuss. You can build custom tool calls connected to a bunch of various other platforms to perform additional actions. You can use Baserow for an open source Airtable-like experience, so you can grab database information and you can host everything on Hostinger. That's all I got for today. Hope you guys found this useful and love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, happy building out there. Talk soon.